But yeah,
If you So another question. Now that you're on the 1 minute, on the 5 minute, it you can clearly see. Uh, so if you go a bit more to the left,
like that.
we so above the zone we were just talking about, on the 5 minute, you would clearly see that it's been mitigated and wicked into. On the 1 minute, the top of it, it looks like it's unmitigated. So how would you be, confirm or
Yeah,
know that, okay, so you see all of that, what you've just highlighted,
yeah.
it's mitigated on the 1 minute, but on the 5 minute, it looks clean. So how would you know which time frame to really use
Yeah, so
and then go down to, and then
it's a good question.
like,
So with OBs, um, on the 5 minute it can look valid, and then on other time frames it doesn't. It's not something we're always going to do as traders to look at multi time frames to evaluate the validity of order blocks. It just seems a bit out of the way to do. I don't do it all the time as well, but I notice if you do, it pays off quite well. A 5 minute OB that's looks already mitigated, fully mitigated on the 1 minute, can actually end up just being a pullback and then getting liquidated. So I think it's worth doing, but like to answer your question directly, just draw out both. Like, here, whatever, it doesn't matter. Both are still valid because this hasn't really been mitigated, right? We can tap into that imbalance, but this is also
yeah,
valid. But realistically, it's about an
because
inducement. We're not building inducement up here for this. We're building it down here for this, and it's about that proximity to the inducement. As a trader, well, not as a trader, as a bank or whatever, they're not gonna build inducement all the way down here to spend trillions of dollars to run price up to here, because this is all their manipulations are a waste of money. They're all a purposeful waste of money. They're purposely putting the market in the wrong direction. They're going to do it as cost effective as they can. As long as it's above that break, so it's valid, because this acts as a big order block on a higher time frame in itself. As long as they do that, and as long as that inducement's proximal, because they don't want to waste money. Everyone's a tight ass because this world's run on money. So just think of it like that kind of thing. But yeah, I'd say draw both out. As long as they're valid, you're good to go. You can draw the whole thing
yeah,
even if you want. But in this case, we didn't get any post-tap confirmation because this acted as our long chain phase one with a very bearish momentum. Okay, but yeah,
yeah,
even something like this, right? Obviously, this is our vector level. We tap into it here, right? So we can grab that whole thing even, right? Like that. That's the break. That created the impulsion to sweep our inducement level. We tap into that vector level here, and we mitigate this point here. So we could have actually traded like that, if we want that extra layer of confirmation. And to do that, we could have just selected this whole thing. It's still valid because it tapped into our zone. You know what I mean? So, but yeah,
because
this is a bit tricky because we didn't have a big phase two because we had a lot of inducement already. Okay, but yeah, if you want that extra confirmation, just wait for a mitigation of this manipulation.
yeah, it's not confirmation. What I was more worried is that seeing that, I would have possibly missed out the move because I would have been considering the higher one compared to where you've kind of narrowed it down to the lower one.
Yeah, well, that's really where Asia comes into play. That's why Asia's great. We didn't have any manipulations in Asia, so it's not going to be type 2, right? We don't have an order block created in Asia. And a whipsaw is a logical thing. A whipsaw takes some thinking, and a lot of the time, a whipsaw like this one is also adding to phase one, right? We're adding to our inducement level for a zone. So that's where Asia comes into play, and proximity, really. If Asia was up here, I'd be looking at this, yeah? But Asia's down here, looking for something here. And we'll never know exactly how bearish we're going to be able to pick which one we're going to play from. So wait for the inducement. That's really it. Wait for that manipulation to occur. That's what we're waiting for. We want to get in where they manipulate, because that's where the banks get in. You know what I mean? So yeah, Asia is the big hint for that one there, I'd say. Okay, I gotta speed this up a bit, damn. Okay, so sell off from here on the decisional. That should be in the 50% as well. We always want to use a 50%. Yep, so in that 50%. So it's an active supply. We can refine it to the 50% like that. That's a little trick as well. And really nice little entry here to be able to take. Not super clean, honestly, but we have some unmitigated wick that we decided to tap into. It's confirmation entry. Let's go back on the 5. Yeah, so this was all overnight, so I'd look for something here, but I'm not going to, for the case that this was just out of time. Price does this a lot, where we run hard out of time, because it readjusts for the next day. That's realistically what we're doing here. But the power of this, right, creates the power of this trade. Like I said, everything's interlinked. Now we know that this mitigated all this, right? On the 5, obviously that mitigated that too. We're not looking for this anymore, because we already manipulated into the range. Okay, like I said, so it can act as a trap, right? But if we grab this whole thing, just like that, remember our minor and medium rules, this will be a good medium, right? Because we've already tapped into the orders, but we still have some orders left over, okay? It'd actually be a minor in the case that it wasn't a strong zone to trade from. But yeah, to continue with that, this acts as our minor inducement. This sweeps the low. This is formed from that sweep of our low. Not a lot of clarity here, but New York was a bit better in the way that we had this, which wasn't mitigated. It's swept, right? We only want to play from zones that sweep or mitigate those manipulations. We induce, we had internal inducement, okay? And we could have taken a trade there. And that's very possible because we can understand the fact that this already mitigated to here. So see how we're connecting the left with what's happening to the right? That's how inducement can be powerful. So this inducement level is minor. Trying to use a manipulation of something already mitigated as the inducement level means it's going to be weak. And also we didn't build more numbers. So I'll make a more systematic thing that'll help us understand which ones are minor, medium, and major. Okay? But yeah, trade from here, understanding what happened here. From that point, we had another thing going on here. So same thing, right? Inducement pullbacks are giving the same idea. This manipulated here. So this trade, right, that we encountered at the start now has a meaning to what's happening here to be able to take this next trade, which is awesome, like how this works. But yeah, so this is already mitigated, right? This mitigated to here, but we're tapping back into this. What does that mean? We either have a medium or minor inducement. This was a strong move, strong manipulation. So it's going to act as our medium inducement. Supply, obviously it's a pullback because we already mitigated it. That high that mitigated it is our inducement pullback, our inducement pullback. So I was able to get a small as risk on this trade because it's in Asia. I don't do much risk at all, but it was a really nice setup. So this is our inducement level. Where did the injection of orders come in to sweep that inducement level, hence our vector level? down here, right? But this wick manipulated, right? We swept into the break of there with this wick here. So this is actually the vector level, right? There's also orders here, right? So we want to draw both out realistically. But we started creating inducement for this pre-Asia. Asia came in, and we created our phase 2 inducement and then a 1 minute entry. Let's have a look at this entry because it was really, really clean. So 1 hour inducement pullback, we can trade it as a lower time frame 5 minute reversal. That's like a golden setup at the end of the day because it's connecting pullback understanding with reversal understanding. Very quality shit. But yeah, we got our demand here. We can realistically grab that whole thing. End of that wick that impulsed, right? See, we didn't tap into it here, hence inducement. Inducement likes to tap the top of zones and trick people. Respect, this respected this respected this. We had kind of trend line, right? This was our move down to the downside. This is all a trap, so I'm not going to use that as my vector level. But we are in the 1 minute. This swept internal highs, so manipulated, so this acted as our vector level. This grabbed it, yeah, and then we can trade straight from that 1 minute one there because we already have our 2 phases. But yeah, really, really clean entry there in Asia. So maybe I should start trading Asia. I don't know. Let's look at this again. We're back in this zone that's already mitigated, right? So we know this is a minor. We're double mitigating an already mitigated zone. Really clean London entry. And that's how we can take entries on really bullish runs because we're understanding the strength of the inducement and the zone that we're hitting into in accordance to that, right? So, like I said, price didn't mitigate that body, so this is going to act as our inducement level. Bit of trend line inducement to there, got a reaction there. Can place a limit there because it's a 1 minute zone from inducement pullback. So that's where we can take limits to a high time frame understanding. We can target this high. Why? Because that's a high of this whole supply that we keep mitigating, right? Does that make sense? Why we can target that high? Because that's, yeah, because we've already mitigated the fuck out of this zone, right? So we're not gonna, we're not gonna keep pulling back strong from it. We've already mitigated it, okay? So we can target that high pretty well. And that little inducement pullback trade ran really nicely. New York just continued from that point there, and then overnight we had that. And then we broke our, I think it was, I don't know, these are kind of just 1 hour highs, okay? So once we have this high break, what do we got to do? We got to look at what happens to the left, right? I'm just not going to now, I'm going to speed through this a bit more, but this break had displacement, swept under our break, mitigated, right? Here I would have used that as a liquidity to sweep into here, but we didn't, I don't think, in this case. No, we didn't. So I probably wouldn't really want to trade from there. Last point of supply gets mitigated. We induce within there. We induce by not tapping into there. Demand here, entry opportunity there. And then we just ran, and that's the end. And we'll see what we do tomorrow. Probably get a pullback. But yeah, that's NAS. I think that was the best one for the week. But yeah, I didn't know I missed so much here that was possible. Just from understanding the high time frame demand, that this low is weak, and having that high time frame target. Gold, a little bit of opportunity. Where are we? We'll start from here, okay? So let's go on the 15. So we have demand under that break. This is obviously a trap because it didn't sweep anything, right? We want to see sweeps into our demands. This was our vector level up here. This created that push. Grabbing this money here and sweeping internal highs. We broke that. We didn't displace though, okay? We didn't displace. So we should wait for our inducement to form. Here we missed our tap. I got the body and the bottom candle here, right, as a refinement, which perfectly tapped into that. You're welcome to just to do that though. But yeah, we treated this as our phase 1, even though this is our phase 1 and this is our phase 2. So we can interchange those based on our time frame, as we know. Quickly see if there was a good entry. Yeah, really nice entry here. On the 1 minute, it's our vector level, right? That's where the impulsion came in to sweep our inducement level. We had some nice trend line liquidity as our inducement trap. We could have put a limit here on this very nice OB with imbalance, internal breakage, impulsion, and inducement. Lovely little entry there for a possible 20 to 1. Continuing the day, there was a nice entry opportunity here, right? Pulling back into this demand, right, that we left behind. Sweeping inducement as well. Okay, let's go back onto the 5. Right, so we're sweeping into medium, a medium inducement level, right, because that's active supply. This acts as that inducement level for this supply here. Oh, here. Right, see how I'm not refining, over-refining? Don't bother over-refining, as long as it's valid at the end of the day, as long as it's valid. And we come back to that demand, entry opportunity for New York buyers as well. Okay. Nothing really here. We're in between. We're in the wedge of a range, so I wouldn't really trade anything here. I mean, you could get a New York trade from this, but nah, should be. And then Asia delivers again. So we tap into this demand, just following money here. There was no refinement. Good refinement for the inducement level here, right? So you can actually just stretch out the break, right? Because money under the break is valid, just like that. And we tapped into that there. I didn't get this because I didn't trade Asia, but we swept phase 2, reacted, entry, which was nice. This one was good. I actually took a little loss here, and I'll explain why. You'll see why. It was a good loss. It was not a good loss, it was a good manipulation. They fucking got me, so. Medium inducement, we come and you sweep that. Why is it medium? Because it's already mitigated, yeah? We mitigated that here, and there's no clean OB to the left here. Okay, so medium inducement, that's the first thing I saw. As soon as we broke that, I knew we'd come back into this 50%. So bottom top here. This is really what got me. I had my thing here, which was just in the 50, but do OBs that are fully in the 50, okay? Let me show you what happened. So actual trade should have been here, right? That would have been the ideal trade. But I got in a little trade here, which is not good. This wasn't even really inducement. I was kind of just yeah. Should have followed the rules a little bit better. That's okay though. We had our break here, right? And this didn't mitigate a clean OB, and I didn't see that, right? It mitigated the range, right? Swept the range, but actually there was a clean OB within this break point, okay? Within that 50. So even though I felt like this was still valid, because it swept, right? Swept these left. We can always use manipulations as points of inducement. That's what we did here, okay? I saw this big resistance. Obviously, that's going to get taken out, but that was good inducement for here. But there's no clear zone either, okay? So we end up using this point. So this was our phase 1, right? Because we detached phase 1, and then we had liquidity above the order block here. So our second accumulation form. I know it's a bit messy, but yeah, we had this accumulation, and then we manipulated that bottom, okay? So just to explain what I'm saying here, we can have a phase 1, break that phase 1, and then this will be our phase 1, this would be our phase 2, and then we instantly tap in to that. So we don't need to wait for a post-tap phase 2 because we have 2 accumulations and 2 forms of manipulation of those accumulations. Okay, so that's what happened here. So that was that entry opportunity. I'll delete that. This was the last day.
Yeah, with that trade, how do you handle it in that situation? So you've taken a loss. Do you have enough time to reanalyze and then enter again, or do you just step away because your trade idea was correct?
Yeah, so that's good. That's a really good question. I used to stick with it, but no, I just step away. I did not get this. I step away because I'll overthink, what I think I'm doing, even if it's structurally correct. Even though I knew this was just going to be a pullback and I knew we were going to continue up, but I got the point wrong. I'm not going to keep trying at it, right? Because then you forget your boundaries. You forget some of your rules. Because then human emotion comes into play, I guess, because you took a loss. So, yeah, I used to stick with it, but now I just stay out. I take the loss on the setup, I'm just going to stay out. Obviously, if I put a limit here, it would have worked great, and would have fulfilled my overall understanding, but, yeah, I just stood out. Okay, yeah. I recommend you do that if, you don't get too emotional. I don't know. I think it's a personal thing. You can do it however, but yeah, I just took the L for that one. Yeah.
No, I think it's best to step away, especially if you're still starting out and you don't have the understanding like you have. I think you would end up taking more losses than actually entering correctly.
Yeah, if you take the L, just accept it, honestly, and then see what it does the next day, and then just analyze what it did that day, and just understand where you went wrong. Because then you put I used to as well. I used to put 3 trades and kept losing because you get stubborn with yourself. So yeah, if a loss hits, if you have 2 zones already marked up, right? If I had these already marked up and ready to go, it's a bit different, right? Because you have a bit more of a plan. But if it's not out of a devised plan, don't worry about it. Yeah. But yeah, that MC here is a mitigation cycle. That was my target for the buys that I had here. So my entry would have looked like this, which is unfortunate, like that. So it would have been 20 to 1, but yeah, took an L there. But that's all good. I'm not mad about that. And that's Friday. Just a bit choppy. We just kept, sometimes when you get a whipsaw like you do here, you just continue whipsawing for the day like we did here. Because there's no clear boundary, right? Because we're shoved in demand, we're shoved in supply still, okay? And yeah, that was it for gold. Euro USD, nothing really, to be honest. Bit of a shitty week. Let's see. Where are we? So Monday, nothing really here. Seems like there was a good opportunity here for London. It looks quite simple. We got a demand zone, right? With imbalance, we have inducement that formed above it. But it didn't come hit that. But it did the next day after. This was out of time. I think I just used that. January, February, March. Yeah, I'm in the right date. Just use that for an example I just made just before. And this was that double bottom. So I made a little video on this. Let me get this out. If you want to see that, it's
yeah,
just...
I saw.
Oh, you already saw bonus video.
Yeah, that helped out.
Yeah. But that was that was why this happened. Good little explanation on why that happened. To do with kind of sell stops and what the algorithm does. The algorithm was trained to run to this, then reverse, and that's exactly what happened. But yeah, moving up. Asia manipulated, right? Would have liked to see it take the high, but it didn't. A lot of people would have got trapped here, I think. At this point, buying from here. But selling took over. We mitigated an unmitigated OB in Asia that swept, right? This acted as that inducement point, and then this was such a nice trade, but it was a bit late for me. Let me put this back on my thing. Yeah, it was pretty late, but that would have been a really, really nice trade to take. We had a clear inducement being respected, so clear resistance level. We rated that very quickly, lots of bearish momentum to the downside, and we're targeting our next point of interest. Equal lows here, so it's a good little target you can do at equal lows. Obviously we have a lot of money at this point, especially all this money, right, from this point, so we're definitely going to look to target that. For next week, right, I see this swept, so this is a good POI, but we're not really looking for POIs. We don't have a lot of development right now, but a bit of a retail trendline thing going. It looks like we're going to end up taking these. Nothing super clean to the buy side, right? So where it does react based on the inducement, maybe here, right, we can get some pullback up. We can look for continuations to the downside to under here, okay, under this break point. So that's going to be our daily TP area, but I'll make this after we finish this video. I'll just do markups for the coming week, delete everything I have. But yeah, that's about it. Do you have any questions, Andre, or did you fall asleep? Nah, no questions. Well, if you guys are all good, I'm gonna go eat dinner. Let me stop this recording.
Cool, no, I appreciate that.